Tommy Zurhellen graduated in 1987 from Fordham Prep. Where he was an active member in the Drama Society with Father Leonard, as well as Fordham Prep football with Coach Bruce Bott. As a senior tight end, he was the first recipient of the McHugh Spirit Award. After the prep, he attended Beloit College in Wisconsin and graduated in 1991 with a degree in creative writing. He enlisted in the U.S. Navy in September 1991 as a nuclear electrician, serving on board the cruisers USS Truxtun and USS California in the Persian Gulf. After an honorable discharge in 1997, he attended graduate school with the help of the GI Bill at both Western Washington University and the University of Alabama. Since 2004, he has taught creative writing at Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York. In the summer of 2019, he decided to use his second sabbatical from Marist to walk across America to raise awareness on the issues of veteran suicide and veteran homelessness in our country. He started in Portland, Oregon in April and arrived home in Poughkeepsie on August 23rd after a 2,600-mile journey that was chronicled on NBC Nightly News, NPR, Fox News, and elsewhere. Seniors, please provide a warm Fordham welcome to Mr. Tommy Zurhellen.
What's up, guys? So in class of 87, it's been a while. You're standing on the football practice field right now, where we used to practice field parking lot. So it's been nice having a tour. Where's my football players? That's it? You're not gonna say anything? Where's my football players? How are we doing this year? You guys still play the turkey ball against Xavier? We lost my year. I got injured in that game. That was the only game my mom came to. I had a flesh wound and blood was everywhere and she fainted. It was crazy. But we lost that year. We won the next year though. So like you said, happy to be here. I'm the crazy guy who walked across the country. And we're going to talk a few minutes about that. Why I did it. Why am I wearing this funny hat? All your questions will be answered today. And hopefully you might have some questions for me, and we'll take a picture later. So I teach creative writing at Marist College. I've been there 16 years now. I'm a writer. Actually, my love of writing was started right here in Mr. Martin's class, sophomore year. Do you like your English classes here? Yeah, so Father Martin, first class, first thing he says, he starts snapping his fingers in a circle and he says, "What's this?" And we're like, "You're snapping your fingers." "No," he said, "What's this?" And 10 minutes went by maybe, everyone's like trying to, I don't know, he says, "Butterflies with hiccups." And right there I was like, ooh, that's pretty cool, metaphor, right? And so that gave me the idea, the ideas of creativity I learned here, the ideas of never giving up I learned here, which came in pretty handy this summer when I walked across the country, which we're going to talk about right now. So, there's me in Wyoming. So I became the commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars post up in Poughkeepsie. It's about an hour and a half north of here. That's why I'm wearing my funny hat. It's a veterans organization. It's 120 years old. It was organized in 1899. And when I became the commander, I just found out firsthand how little a lot of our veterans get in the areas of mental health and homelessness. Pretty much every day I get a call. Became the second job, and I got really frustrated because I couldn't help everybody. And one thing they teach you here at the prep is helping others. Service is a big part of your life. So 22 suicides for our veterans every day in America. That's double the suicide rate for civilian people. Veterans are only about 7% of our population, and that population is going down with the passing of our greatest generation, World War II and Vietnam. So the other number that really stuck with me was over 40,000 veterans are homeless every night. So you could fill Yankee Stadium every single night with the veterans who are living on the streets. And of course, no veteran should be homeless. So I came up with this idea. I had a sabbatical from my school. I was just going to write another novel, but instead, I decided to use that year off to walk across the country, raise awareness on these issues. Started in Portland, Oregon in April. And the question I tried to ask myself was, can one person change the world? I really didn't know the answers to this. Can one person, just a regular person like me, do something? I don't have $1 million, I don't have a foundation. Can one person, just like you and me, do something to really impact their world? First day, here I am in Portland, Oregon with my old shipmate Paul. Problem was he walked a lot faster than me, and I was out of shape, even more out of shape than I am now. And so day 2, you can see, here's my feet, you can see the blood on my feet, you see that? Oh, it's not a pretty sight. So here's me on day 2, after 22 miles. I only got to walk about 16 miles that day because I couldn't get out of bed. I had to crawl, literally crawl to the bathroom that morning, and it took me 3 or 4 hours just to be able to stand up. And I was thinking, this is the stupidest idea in the history of ideas, but somehow I kept going. How did I keep track? Well, if you have an iPhone, right? You have your walk feature, counts your steps, and so here's just a couple of typical days. But it turned out, after a while, the physical part became the easy part. I'll say that again. The physical part, walking 8 hours-ish every day by myself at my very slow pace, that became the easy part. The hard part was the mental part, doing it every day. I didn't need to do this. I could go home anytime, but every day, that would get a little easier too. So here I am. Oh, you can see the sunburn on my face on the right there. You see the picture on the left there, where I'm pointing to the campground? What you don't see is the 4 feet of snow that is covering the campgrounds. I didn't plan for things like snow. I didn't really plan for anything. So it was a very rocky journey. Before I got to Boise, I met this man. It's the middle of nowhere in the desert of Oregon. There's no place to stay, but there was this guy, we'll call him Roy, living on a mountain in the middle of nowhere. He had a campsite. I stayed there. It was 28 degrees that night, sleeping outside. But Roy, if you notice, he's got a special services pin on his hat. He was a Green Beret in Vietnam. And it turns out Roy, a veteran, has been living on that mountain since Vietnam. He hasn't really talked to anybody. I got the sense I was the first person he had talked to in a long time. And he's very suspicious of my walk. Why are you doing this? What do you hope to get out of this? I wasn't prepared for that. But it turns out I realized what he was trying to do. He was trying to trust me with his story. And that's the thing about veterans. They don't share their stories with anybody. How many people here have a veteran in your family? Raise your hands. Mom, dad, uncle, brother. For veterans, stories are really kind of sacred. You really have to speak the same language. And if you don't, veterans really don't want to tell you the story because they won't have to explain it. So I was really honored. The next morning, Roy drove me back down to the main road from his campsite, and he stopped the truck, and we sat there for at least 20 minutes while he told me the story of his unit being overrun in Vietnam. It was really powerful. And I just sat there in silence, and that was the day I knew I was onto something on this walk. It was more than just a guy walking across the country because he wanted to walk across country. It was for something then. And that made it worth it, and I kept going. Oh boy. You see my man Bob on the right there, he looks like a sea monster, or a drunken Santa Claus. So here I am in Idaho, you can see the sunburn. But Bob stops on his Harley, just pulls up right next to me in the middle of the highway. He says, "Are you the guy walking across the country?" I said, "Yes." He's like, "I'm going to stop and talk to you. I hope it's worth it." Okay, so we talked, and it turns out his motorcycle belonged to his best friend, also from Vietnam, from the Vietnam era. who had committed suicide recently, who had suffered from PTSD. Now he's riding his best friend's bike, kind of in tribute to his friend. I didn't know that when I met him. We had a great conversation. Of course, in Bob style, after we were done, he revs up his Harley and says, "Well, I guess it was worth it," and then he drives away. So, typical veteran. And I would meet somebody like this every single day. You know, I wore my funny hat, I had my walking stick, people by this time knew I was coming, and veterans would just come out, they want to tell me their story, which was really, really heartwarming. I made it to Boise. This is where I sprained my ankle. You see I'm kind of leaning on that stick. Oh boy. And I got my ankle braces on. I sprained my ankle twice. The doctor told me to stay off my foot. I said I'm walking across the country. And she said, "You're doing what?" Here I am just about to walk into Wyoming. It's 34 degrees and you can see, like a dummy, I'm still wearing my VFW windbreaker that I left home with. Not really equipped, so this sheriff's deputy, turns out to be a veteran, stops and says, "You're not gonna make it across Wyoming in that." So he calls his other friend, the sheriff's deputy, and they outfitted me with entire rain gear and cold weather gear and things like that from their sheriff's department, just so I can make it through Wyoming, which was life-saving. Again, veterans helping veterans. They didn't know who I was. We were total strangers, and yet people wanted to help. People tell us we often live in a world where, you know, we never see eye to eye, all this political stuff going on, but I never once felt like people didn't want to help walking across the country 2,600 miles. And that's a comforting thought. Oh, bear attack. Get back. This is the first of many bear attacks. You see, are you scared? No? Yeah, it's a bear. Yeah, I met a lot of wooden bears for some reason along this walk here. Oh yeah, I gotta tell you about the mail drive. So we had stuff, you know, candy and cards sent to me at different post offices along the way, and I would pick it up. This one in Kemmerer, Wyoming, the post office is about the size of this right here. And I walk in there and I said, "Yeah, do you have any mail for Tom Zurhellen?" And the lady looks at me, the one person working there, she looks at me with these eyes and she says, "It's you." It turns out there's 40 pounds of Nutter Butters. 40 pounds of Nutter Butter. My favorite cookie is Nutter Butter. People found out. And so you can see that we donated most of these to the senior center there. But you know, it was nice that you know, you're walking alone day after day, all alone, and people cared so much to send 40 pounds of Nutter Butters. I still owe that lady an apology at the post office. All right, so you see this band I'm wearing right here? You'll see I'm also wearing it in the picture behind me. So I met this veteran. His name's Masa. He's an Army veteran, served in Iraq. His best friend died in a helicopter crash in Iraq in 2007, and he had this bracelet made. And he said to me when I met him in Casper, complete stranger, "Will you carry this the rest of the way back home?" And I said, "Sure, and I'll even bring it back to you." So I'm still wearing it. I gotta bring it back, but we did make it. And so Ricky, the guy's name who died, Ricky, his name is inscribed in the middle of the bracelet. And we had a great time. So Ricky and I saw, you know, most of the country together. If you check us out on Facebook, the Vet Zero Facebook page, you can see all the pictures from the summer. Oh, Barrett, so watch out. Stand back. You don't look very scared there. No, watch out. Yeah, more wooden bears for some reason. A lot of wooden bears out there in America. Well, getting close to home here. Here I am in Michigan. This guy here is Arizona Mike. He makes, he's a homeless veteran, Navy veteran, lives on the street, makes walking sticks. Of course, we have a good conversation about walking sticks with mine. But I was a different person then. I've been a homeless veteran now for 4 months. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm never gonna take what I have for granted again. All the things we take for granted, like going to the bathroom when you want, eating when you want, what you want. When you're homeless, none of these things are possible. So I felt like Arizona and Mike were equals at this time. I could really have a conversation with them. And it was an important moment for me. When I got to Flint, Michigan, remember the 40 pounds of Nutter Butters? I did not want to receive 40 pounds of Nutter Butters again. So what I had folks do was donate restaurant gift cards to send me in the mail that time, and we donated, we got 100 of them, and we donated them all to veterans in need in Flint, Michigan. If you've read about Flint, they have the water crisis there. Have you heard about this? Still don't have clean water, so we tried to go there and cheer people up just a little bit. That was a great day. Yep, they're in Buffalo, again in New York. And here's the last couple of days here. You can see here in the Hudson Valley, the last day you can see 22.6 miles or so. I was on NBC Nightly News. We're going to watch the video, but you can Google it. Just the worst part was they took 20 minutes just taking pictures of your feet. So walk this way. All right, walk back. Walk this way. Walk back. That's a picture of my brother and I on the last day. So that question we talked about, right? Can one person change the world? Do you guys think that's true? You know, you might be the next person to, find your passion. You might not have your passion now, and that's okay. I didn't have my passion until, a year and a half ago when I started this big guy in the funny hat job as a veteran at the Veterans of Fordham. I'm a veteran, and I really didn't know. So I can't imagine other people not knowing the 22 suicides a day and the 40,000 plus homeless folks every night, homeless vets every night in America. But you're going to find your passion, whatever it is, something close to your home. And just remember, when someone tells you you can't do it, boy, I remember when I told my mom about this walk, she still hasn't talked to me. That was February, people looked at me like I was crazy, and I was, I'm not an athlete. I am not built to walk across the country, let's put it that way. I am built to eat Nutter Butters, basically. But, somehow I made it, And so when you get your opportunity, whenever that is, don't let anyone tell you you're too fat, you're too young, you're too old, you're too short, whatever. If you really feel a passion about doing something, you're just going to do it, and it's going to be great, all right? So can one person change the world? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, because the only reason why I made it, and the only reason why I'm standing here talking to you today is because of so many other people cared, right? So if it was just me walking across the country by myself and nobody cared, I probably wouldn't have made it. Even with that passion I have for veterans, just like you're going to find your passion. So I would say it takes more than one person, to really make that difference. But your job as one person is to inspire others to see the world the way you see it and get them to help you change the world as well. All right, we got time for a few questions. So make them good. Yes, sir, what's your name?
Steven.
All right, nice and loud, Steven.
Did you lose any weight while you were doing?
Yeah, you should have seen me before I started. I lost about 40 pounds. And again, I wasn't an athlete. I didn't train. I just figured I would be like Kung Fu, walking the earth, and living off the land. And I had a whole plan, and I had it down. Google Maps is great for walking. I had it down to the mile, and not one day did I follow the plan, because the road was out, or there's a water buffalo stampede or something. I herded sheep in Utah. Yeah, so there was a giant sheep stampede, not joking, and the only way to get the sheep out of there was to drive them off the road. So I helped I guess not cowboys, sheep boys, I don't know, drive them off the road. So I was saying "hiya" a lot. I don't know if sheep respond to "hiya," but I was even doing that. So I did lose some weight. What else we got? That's the spirit. What's your name, man? Nick. Yeah, it was tough. So, in the eastern part of the United States, there's a town, every 10 miles or so. So when you're walking around your neighborhood, it's pretty easy to go to a store and get something to eat. When you're in Wyoming, I would walk for 3 days and not talk to anybody, and so you'd have to pack enough food in your backpack. When you saw a gas station, you're like, jackpot. you know, because you're eating corn nuts that night. That got pretty old. You know what the most I ate, I'm not proud to say, is Taco Bell. There are a lot of Taco Bells in the western part of the United States, more than McDonald's or Subway and stuff. But again, you know, thinking about being a homeless veteran for 4 or 5 months, it's really humbling because you don't get to make these choices like, what am I going to have for dinner tonight? You know, you have to rely on the kindness of strangers, and it's really tough. It's humbling for somebody who hasn't had to do that. What's your name, man? All right, Liam. Anywhere I could. So, you know, starting at, you know, I would sleep out a lot because there were no towns, sleeping bags, stuff like that, tent. When I got to the eastern part of the United States, there were a lot more towns. And also Facebook kicked in. So I had a lot of people when I walked through the towns like, hey, stay with me and things like that. Sometimes motels and stuff like that. Speaking of Facebook, social media, that really helped me out as far as getting the word out. And we haven't done the numbers yet, but a conservative estimate is 5 million people connected with the story. It's probably more than that, but at least 5 million people connect with the story on the news, on the internet, stuff like that. So a lot of that, it was not up to me, it was just social media. Other question? Yeah, what's your name, man? Diego? 2 questions, well give me one. You got a dude over here who's got a burning desire for another question. Yeah, sometimes my phone just dies. But you have a backup charger, I'm sure you have a backup charger when you go on trips and stuff, so I had that. And some days your phone just died, but you gotta remember, I had no one to talk to. The best thing about being on the walk is I didn't have to answer emails, I didn't have to multitask, all I had to do was walk 8 hours a day. So I wouldn't even check my phone. The only time I would check my phone would be like the map, make sure I'm going in the right direction, which Google Maps lies, by the way. It would lie to me several times, and I'd have to, you know, it would put me in the middle of a cow pasture when it says there's like a highway there. So yeah, charge my phone. What's your name, man? Patrick.
Did you ever take a day to, like, you know, spend it in town with people, or did you walk or
No, I took breaks. So, you know, the first snow day was Pocatello, Idaho, and I took a snow day there to spend time with some veterans. But it turns out it like snows every other day in Idaho, even in the summertime. So I couldn't take any more snow days. But I had built days off into the walk just so, because I knew I probably wouldn't, the goal was to walk 22 miles a day, but you need breaks in the middle, so I built those in just to make sure that I could catch up and stuff. Got time for just 1 or 2 more. Yeah, what's your name, man? Justin.
how many pairs of shoes did you go
Good
through?
question. All right, so I got through 6 pairs of shoes. The first pair of shoes was just like running shoes, and totally the wrong shoes because you're walking on the shoulder, you know, and that's how I sprained my ankle. But the last 5 pairs were New Balance, like hiking shoes, which were a lot better. But I went through 6 pairs. So you figure a good pair of shoes, about 500 miles that you're using for, you go through what, a few months? So I was going through them like once a month. You know, once every 3 weeks I would go through shoes. They would be down to the bone, you know. And I wore orthotics, special socks and things like that. Yeah, what's your name?
And how often were you able to keep up with your personal hygiene?
Well, let me put it this way. The walk was about 4.5 months long. I kept up with my personal hygiene when I got home after 4.5 months. So, I'll give you a for instance real quick. So one of my very, very best friends in the Navy actually flew out to Wyoming to walk a day with me. So he actually drove out from the airport in his car, to walk with me. And the first thing he says to me, not hello, or I haven't seen you in a long time, was, "You smell bad." And it was true, I didn't smell it, but I got in his car, his rental car, I just smelled, I hadn't taken a shower in probably weeks because I was outdoors the whole time. So again, we take that for granted. All right, one more, someone had a question over here, yeah.
How long did it take you to take
Still not used to it. You saw my feet, right? So it got a lot easier, and it's just something you did every day. But every morning your feet would still be like puffed up. you'd stand up and you'd probably have to, do this for 5 or 10 minutes before the blood starts pumping to your feet. And then your knees, I can't walk downstairs. Where's JP? JP made the mistake of making me walk down the stairs from the 4th floor to the 2nd floor. I can't really do stairs anymore because my knees don't bend. And again, I'm 50, so it's probably going to be like that for the rest of my life. But again, still glad I did it. All right, how are we on time, JP?
One more.
All right, one more question. What's your name, man? Peter? How did I decide? Well, I can't sing or dance, right? And you can look at me, right? So the only thing I really could do was walk, And the idea that I had all this time on my hands, and I wanted to raise awareness, not just in my hometown, but on a national level, right? It's not something I always wanted to do, but it's something I knew I could do, right? And it turned out I could do, right?
Guys, so thanks to Tommy, if you don't mind.